They slipped a note under my door accusing me of walking too loudly in my own house. Laughing, they said, "Maybe you should learn to tiptoe." Their partner mocked, "Ever heard of carpet?" I whispered, "Your complaints end now." They were stunned when the landlord issued them a warning for harassment. I never thought something as simple as walking in my own apartment could lead to such a mess. But here I am, sharing my story in hopes it helps someone else. I moved into my new place in Chicago a few months ago. It's an old building with charm, hardwood floors, vintage fixtures. The floors creak a bit, but I figured that's part of the deal with older buildings. One evening, after a long day at work, I was pacing in my living room while on a call with a friend. Suddenly, I noticed a piece of paper being slid under my door. Curious, I picked it up. It read, "Dear neighbor, your footsteps are extremely loud, especially in the evenings. It's disturbing our peace. Maybe you should learn to tiptoe or consider getting carpets. Sincerely, your downstairs neighbors." I was surprised. I knew the floors creaked but didn't realize it was bothering anyone. Wanting to address it, I decided to talk to them directly. The next day, I baked some cookies as a peace offering and went downstairs. I knocked, and a young couple answered. I introduced myself and handed them the cookies. "Hi, I'm Alex from upstairs. I got your note and wanted to apologize for any disturbance. The floors are old and creaky. I'm trying to be mindful." They exchanged glances, and the woman scoffed. "Maybe you should invest in some carpets," she said dismissively. Her partner added with a smirk, "Or just learn to walk softer." I was taken aback by their rudeness, but kept my cool. "I understand your concerns and will do my best to minimize the noise," I replied before leaving. Over the next week, I made efforts to walk softer and even bought some rugs to dampen the sound. Despite this, I found another note under my door. "Not good enough. The noise continues. Do something about it." Frustrated, I decided to document my efforts. I recorded videos of my apartment, showing the rugs I'd placed and demonstrating my careful steps. I also recorded the ambient noise levels to prove I wasn't being excessively loud. I approached the building manager, Mr. Thompson, with my evidence. He listened and agreed I was taking reasonable measures. He mentioned the couple downstairs had a history of complaints against previous tenants. Armed with this information, I decided to stand my ground. I wrote a letter to my neighbors. "Dear neighbors, I've taken significant steps to reduce any noise from my apartment, including adding rugs and walking more softly. I've also discussed this with Mr. Thompson, who agrees my efforts are reasonable. Continued complaints without merit may be considered harassment. I hope we can coexist peacefully. Sincerely, Alex." After delivering the letter, the complaints stopped for a while. I thought the issue was resolved until one evening when I heard loud banging from below, followed by music blaring at full volume. It was clear they were retaliating. I documented these incidents and reported them to Mr. Thompson. He issued them a formal warning for harassment and disruptive behavior. The atmosphere in the building became tense. Passing each other in the hallway was awkward, but I was relieved the official warning had curbed their antics. Months later, the couple moved out. Peace returned to the building, and I continued to enjoy my apartment without further issues. This experience taught me the importance of standing up for oneself while striving for amicable resolutions. Sometimes, despite our best efforts, some people are just looking for a fight. In such cases, it's crucial to document everything and involve the proper authorities to mediate. About 2 weeks after the couple downstairs moved out, I thought it was finally over. Then, one night, I woke up at 2:47 a.m. to the sound of what I can only describe as loud hammering. Not just a bang here or there, it was fast, sharp, non-stop banging. I jumped out of bed and stood still, trying to figure out if it was coming from inside the building or outside. It wasn't just annoying, it felt personal. I went downstairs to see if something was being repaired late at night. The hallway was empty, but as I walked toward the front door, I noticed it, the same couple, standing there, talking to someone in hushed voices by the mailboxes. I froze. They hadn't moved out. They were still in the building. I felt sick. They noticed me, stared, and the woman smiled. "Thought you got rid of us," she said. I didn't reply. I turned around and walked back up to my apartment. My heart was pounding. I couldn't sleep the rest of the night. The next morning, I went straight to the building manager. Turns out, the couple hadn't moved out. They just went to stay with family while their apartment got fumigated. Whatever that meant. Mr. Thompson was surprised too. Apparently, they told him they were moving permanently. Now they were back. And angrier. From that day forward, things escalated fast. Every night, the banging continued. Sometimes it was a broom handle against the ceiling. Sometimes it was loud stomping in sync with my movements. If I walked to the fridge, they followed it with thuds below. I started recording everything. Audio, video, timestamps. I got an app that tracked sound levels. One morning, I stepped out to get the mail. Someone had written "noisy rat" on my door in black marker. That same day, I filed a police report for harassment and vandalism. Mr. Thompson backed me up and warned them again. But they didn't stop. Instead, they went petty. Really petty. They left a pair of filthy, old shoes outside my door. Then they started ordering takeout under my name. At least 5 times a week, confused delivery drivers showed up with food I didn't order, asking for payment. Every time I told them it wasn't mine, I saw the couple peeking through their blinds, laughing. The next twist hit harder. One afternoon, I got a letter from the HOA stating that a formal complaint had been filed against me. They accused me of aggressive behavior, loud disturbances, and harassment. I was shocked. The couple was trying to flip the narrative. They wanted me kicked out. Thankfully, I had all the proof. The sound logs, the videos, the door graffiti, the fake food deliveries. I compiled it all, sent it to the HOA, and requested a hearing. At the hearing, I laid it all out. I didn't hold back. I showed the board everything: timestamps, footage, even screenshots of texts I had sent Mr. Thompson after each event. The couple showed up too, acting like they were scared of me, playing victims. But the board saw through them. Still, nothing changed. The board warned them again. That's it. And just when I thought I'd reached my limit, I came home to something that finally broke me: a dead rat in a plastic bag, placed gently on my welcome mat. No note. No message. Just that. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I took pictures. I wore gloves, put the bag in another sealed bag, and marched back to the station. I filed another police report. Now things were different. The officer I spoke to was clearly disturbed. I told him everything. He said this crossed the line from harassment into something more serious, maybe even criminal intimidation. That night, I didn't sleep. I laid awake wondering what I was going to do. These people were unhinged. I tried to be civil. I tried to play fair. I tried to document everything and do things the right way. But they weren't playing by any rules. And at that moment, I decided, if they wanted war, they were going to get it. I didn't even need to be loud anymore. I just had to be smarter. The next morning, I called in sick to work. Not because I was tired, though I was. Not because I was stressed, though I was way beyond that. I needed time to think. I needed a plan. I started by digging into public records. I wanted to know who these people really were. I wasn't expecting much. But then I found something. The woman had been involved in a legal dispute 2 years earlier in a nearby suburb. A civil harassment case. Different building, different neighbor. The case was dismissed due to lack of evidence. But the pattern was there. That gave me an idea. I started talking to other tenants in the building. Carefully. Casually. I didn't ask leading questions. I just brought up noise complaints in general. 3 people told me the couple had caused problems in the past. One elderly woman on the 2nd floor said she moved to the opposite side of the building just to avoid them. With their permission, I recorded short video statements. Nothing dramatic. Just calm recounting of their experience with the couple. I added those to my collection of evidence. But here's where things got really strange. That same week, I got a phone call from a number I didn't recognize. The voice on the other end was a woman I'll call Michelle. She lived in the apartment directly below the couple. She'd just moved in 6 weeks ago. She was scared. They knock on my ceiling when I cough, she said. They slipped a note under my door that said, drink water quietly. Who does that? I met Michelle in the lobby that evening. She looked exhausted. We swapped stories. She couldn't believe how similar our experiences were. I showed her my videos, and her eyes widened. They're doing the same thing to me. We decided to team up. She started documenting too. We coordinated. If I got noise from below, she would listen and record her perspective. If they banged on her ceiling, I'd log the time and check my sound meter. We were collecting proof together. Then came the fake maintenance requests. One afternoon, 2 guys from a local HVAC company knocked on my door. Said they got a call that my air unit needed urgent repair. I never called anyone. I sent them away. Michelle got a fake pest control visit 3 days later. I reported it to the building manager. He was fed up too. He told me quietly that he was now documenting everything on his end for legal reasons. He also said something else that chilled me. They tried to get access to your unit while you were at work. Claimed there was a gas smell. That same day, I bought a small security camera and installed it inside my apartment, facing the front door. I also placed one on the inside of my bedroom window, facing the street. It wasn't paranoia anymore. It was just smart. Michelle did the same. The retaliation continued, but we were ready now. One night, they waited until after 1 a.m. and started stomping rhythmically under my floor, sending vibrations through the walls. It wasn't just noise, it was meant to get under my skin. I texted Michelle. She responded immediately. It's like they're dancing. This is insane. We both called the non-emergency police line. The responding officer that night was the same one I filed the rat report with. He remembered me. He remembered the dead rat. This time, he took more notes and asked to see the security footage. The next morning, the police showed up again. This time, to speak with the couple. I don't know what was said, but when they left, I saw the couple looking out their window. Watching. Furious. And then, silence. No banging. No stomping. No notes. But it wasn't peace. It was the kind of silence that feels like the pause before a thunderstorm. Michelle agreed. We stayed in touch constantly. Checked on each other. Shared updates. One day she sent me a video. She caught them standing in the stairwell, whispering. Then she heard the woman say my name. That night, my car alarm went off 3 times between 2 and 4 a.m. Nothing was stolen. Nothing broken. But something had been moved. A parking ticket I'd left on the dashboard was now in the back seat. I didn't bother calling the police. I just added it to the file. What they didn't know was I'd already spoken to a lawyer. This wasn't just harassment anymore. This was stalking. Intimidation. And we had proof. A week later, I got the call from my lawyer. I've reviewed everything. You've got enough to file a civil suit. I suggest you go for it. Michelle agreed to join me. We filed a joint case, harassment, emotional distress, attempted trespassing, and stalking. Everything backed with photos, video, sound recordings, and multiple witness statements. But just when we were feeling confident, it hit me. I made a mistake. In my obsession with documenting, recording, and building the perfect case, I had forgotten to renew my lease. The deadline passed quietly during the chaos. When I brought it up to Mr. Thompson, he gave me a long, uncomfortable pause. The couple renewed early, he said. You didn't. So, technically, they have seniority on that unit now. I felt the floor drop under me. He wasn't siding with them. He was just following policy. You're not evicted, he added quickly. But I can't stop them from requesting that you be moved if there's conflict. And that's exactly what they did. They filed a formal request to have me relocated or removed. They claimed they feared for their safety. It was a bold move. But they had one advantage: I missed my deadline. That part was on me. The HOA sided with them. My lawyer was livid. He said it was retaliation, clear as day. But I had no legal claim to the unit anymore. I had a case, but I didn't have a home. So I packed. Quietly. Bitterly. Michelle stayed. She hadn't missed any dates. Her case would continue without me. But before I left, I made one last move. Remember the public records I found? Well, I dug a little deeper. Found the woman's old landlord. I called him. He remembered her instantly. Turns out, she left that building with over $3,000 in unpaid damage charges. Holes in walls. Broken plumbing. The works. I asked if he'd be willing to write a statement. He said yes. I handed it to Michelle. She handed it to her lawyer. And that was the final crack. Within weeks, their behavior escalated again, probably because they thought they'd won. But Michelle kept documenting. One night, the couple got drunk and blasted music at 3 a.m. Michelle recorded it. Then, she caught them mocking her through the vents. Clear as day on video. When she brought that to court, it was over. The judge ruled in her favor. The couple was slapped with a restraining order. Mr. Thompson, under pressure from the HOA and mounting legal pressure, terminated their lease early for breach of conduct. They were out in 2 weeks. Kicked to the curb. I wasn't there to see it. I had already moved across town. But Michelle sent me a photo. It was their unit. Empty. The blinds drawn. The walls marked with stains. The words, "Quiet now," scratched into the inside of the front door with what looked like a key. She said it gave her chills. For a moment, I felt victorious. But then I felt something else. Tired. I realized I had let them live in my head. Every stomp, every note, every laugh, I'd turned it into a war. And in the end, I won. But it cost me more than rent. It cost me my peace. So yeah, I made mistakes too. I gave them space to mess with me because I wanted to handle it right. I didn't set boundaries hard enough. I thought playing fair would keep me safe. But some people don't want peace. They want chaos. And you have to know when to fight and when to just move forward. Now, I live in a newer building. Top floor. Carpeted. No creaky floors. No angry neighbors below. And I walk as loudly as I want. Because I earned that. And I'll never tiptoe for anyone again.